Good morning. Welcome to the Complete with Purdeep Show. My name is Purdeep Sangha. I will be your host for the next 30 to 45 minutes roughly. So I welcome you gentlemen to this show and you lovely ladies as well that are supporting this show. We are getting tons of feedback from not only the men out there, but also the ladies that are watching the show to get a better understanding of the men in their life. They're coming to the show to see what men are struggling with, how they can help men. We're getting some great feedback, so I want to thank you. First, if you can please like and share this show with your network, because this is really about driving value to our audience, the men out there helping you, giving you real strategies and tactics to not only have a better life, but also a better business as well. So this show is particularly for entrepreneurs, executives, business owners, men who are professionals in a number of different areas. And I'm excited to bring on our guest here in a few minutes. He's a professional, and you're going to want to hear his journey in terms of where he came from and where he is today. Because as we know, this last year, 2020, has been really interesting for a lot of us guys out there. For some guys, it's been absolutely phenomenal in terms of what they've been able to do, whether it's pivot their business or careers. For others, it has been the biggest challenge of their lives because they're in a situation where perhaps they're not able to do the things that they want to do or even provide the life or lifestyle for the family. And for guys, that's very tough in terms of being in that situation. So again, we're here to support everybody out there. That's the mission of this show. So I do want to thank you. My name, again, is Purdeep Sangha. I am widely known as a strategist for businessmen. I work with males out there, specifically entrepreneurs, executives, business owners, as I mentioned before, because I'm very passionate about that space. I'm very passionate about helping men because I believe that when you have a strong man, a successful man in a family, not only does he have the ability to be a better husband, but he also has the ability to be a better father. And we know a lot of guys out there are spending their evenings, weekends, days, working their butts off to provide that lifestyle for their family. So that's ultimately why I do what I do, because I grew up in a family business. My parents worked very hard. They were immigrants themselves, and they provided, you can say, an amazing life for my brother and I. And I want to thank them for that. But I also want to be able to give back to other people who can just use some insight or advice, some business strategies to improve their life in some way, shape, or form. And you'd be amazed how just changing your approach to business or life by a tiny fraction or tiny bit can actually have a massive impact on the outcome. So with that, what we're going to talk about today is the topic of competitiveness. And I think that's super important. It's 13 C's. It's one of the 13 C's of being the complete man. It's actually 19 C's because we've added on a number more. But when I talk about competitiveness, this is something that's really important. As men, we have this inherent drive in us to do more, to achieve more, to be competitive, not only with other men, but with ourselves as well. But when it comes to being competitive, I want you to understand this. It's great to compete against other men, but it's even better to compete against yourself. Because when you compete against other men, there's always going to be someone better. There's always going to be someone that has more money or a bigger house or a fancier car, or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And so competing against someone else can be fun for a little bit, but it can also be self-defeating if you're constantly comparing yourself to others. What you should be comparing yourself to, or who you should be comparing yourself to, is who you were a year ago, the man you were a year ago, or the man you were 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. When you compete against yourself, you go to a completely different level. You have a better understanding of yourself, but you're also being able to motivate yourself, because how awesome is it when you're able to sit there and say, you know what, a year ago, I was dealing with this challenge. I was dealing with this situation, and here I am today. Not only did I get through it, but look at the man I've become, or look at the things that I've learned or the skills that I've developed. I can tell you that every day for myself, it is amazing, especially with having two young kids, a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. They are my teachers in a lot of ways. There are lessons that teach me every day. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, my son was talking, and I said, you know what, no negotiation right now, and we're not going to talk about this. You got to go in timeout because this is what you did. But he stopped and he said, Dada, can you just hear me out for a second? I know you need to put me in timeout, but can you just hear me out? I just want to be able to express my feelings. And you know what? I had to stop and say, yeah, I should be able to hear him out. He's going to go in timeout, but I should be able to hear him out. So I had to change my approach. And every day I'm learning new things about myself and looking back and saying, wow, I've matured a lot over the years. So here's a gentleman. I'm going to bring him on here in just a little bit. But here's a gentleman. He's got an awesome story, because you might be out there dealing with something, whether that's as a result of COVID or something else. And you might be thinking, where am I going to go from here? How am I going to do this? How am I going to get past this? But you will. And I want you to hear this gentleman. His name is TUTI ARIET, and he's joining us here today. Thank you so much for joining us, TUTI. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
Well, thank you very much. This is my pleasure, and I just very excited to be on your show. Thank you.
So we had a great conversation backstage, and I connected with you immediately because you just seem to be a genuine guy who has a genuine life and trying to create just, not only something good for yourself, but other people as well. So for the gentlemen out there and the ladies out there listening, who is TUTI? Where did TUTI come from? And where do you plan to go from here?
Well, it's funny. I'm from Gainesville, Florida. I say I'm from Gainesville because I grew up here. I was born in Texas, ended up in Gainesville when I was like 2 years old, and ended up having a younger brother also. I'm number 4 of 5 kids from Cuban immigrants. And excuse me. It's been
5 kids here in Canada makes a hockey team pretty much.
It's been a whirlwind in regards to having Cuban parents, in regards to speaking Spanish when I was a baby, and my older brothers and sisters were coming home speaking English. So we were kind of losing the Spanish as we grew up. And my mother's parents defected to Spain and then came to Florida and moved in with us. So luckily, them moving in with us, we were able to be able to speak Spanish with them every day, and that helped me be a bilingual adult. Because if they wouldn't have been around, my parents wouldn't have, I don't think, had pushed us to continue to speak Spanish, and it's been good for me. But I am.
And you also mentioned, sorry, I don't mean, but you also mentioned the timeline of when your parents came over, because that was an interesting time when things were actually good between.
Yes, my dad came to University of Florida in 1956 to go to school. Like many of his friends, their ideas were come get a degree, go back to Cuba and live in that beautiful place. Of course, we know that didn't work out, but they found a home here in Gainesville, and they really loved being here.
Yeah, because I can only imagine coming to a different country to study and then not being able to go back, or having to choose, let's just say, to stay in the country because it could, create a better life. I'm assuming is that why?
Absolutely. Well, my grandfather, my father had gone back to Cuba. He would go back, like around here, normally you go back at Christmas and Easter and during the summer sometimes. He had gone back and asked for my mother's hand in marriage. She was only really 18, 19 years old, and she was going to be leaving her parents and her sister and her family. And my grandfather said, get her out of here, because things kept getting, and that was just before Castro had taken over. So yes, they found a life here in Gainesville, and this is their home. They love Cuba, of course, but they have created a beautiful place here for us.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we were just chatting backstage too that you actually got a chance to go back in 2016.
Yes, what an experience. And we still had family there. And one of the best things that happened was I called a cousin that I had never met before and said, hey, I'm coming. Could you help me get a cab or something? He goes, I'm going to pick you up at the airport. And I went with 3 of my friends. And this guy would not. He said, you're my cousin. I don't know you, but I'm going to take care of you. And he took me to the house where my grandfather lived. I got to stay in the same house where my mother grew up. So Wow. It was an amazing experience. There was a week. The first time I had gone, it was a week. And I was amazed by the beauty of where they lived. And I'd always heard the stories how gorgeous it was, but really to go there and to see it was amazing for me.
And so what was so tell me more in terms of now your journey over, we discussed again, some of the things that you went through over the last year.
Yes. My journey this past year, working in Gainesville and also working in and around the counties of Alachua County, where Gainesville is. I was working for the Diocese of St. Augustine. And when COVID hit, it was really one of those things where I was starting to get worried because churches were closing down. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I had an opportunity to come back to Gainesville to work, and I took that opportunity because I wanted to be close to my kids, all the time. Instead of throughout the week, I was working in Jacksonville, basically. So came here, started working. That job did not work out because of COVID, and found myself looking for work. Not everyone was hiring at that moment. So had to get insurance for my kids and myself, and turned into a great friend of mine that I, buying the insurance through, gave me the opportunity and said, listen, I know you're going through a tough time right now. You could do this. And I said, what are you talking about? Do what? He says, you can sell insurance. And I said, do that. I found myself at 54 years old, and I had agreed with him to go ahead and give it a shot. So I started studying, and after 3 months of not being really sure what I was getting myself into, but started to learn and started to understand and remember what school was like. I had been out of school for so many years and had done other things, but never had to go back and study. And I was never really a great student anyway, but it worked.
And what was that like? I have to ask, what was that like? You say you're 50, at 54, you had to go back. There must have been a lot of things going through your mind at that time.
Yes, sir. There's, again, insecurities that I was having, not working at the time. Friends and family, people that I know that were working and they're professionals. I have to tell you, I didn't get depressed, but I didn't feel real great about myself at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then starting off that studying, let me tell you, it was tough because I would find things to do and procrastinate the studying at first. But my brothers helped me, my father helped me, my family helped me in regards to, they're making me accountable. They were helping me in regards to, hey, how's the studying going? How's, going? How far along are you? And when that started, then I felt more comfortable in talking with them and letting them help me, because I didn't feel smart. I didn't feel good about myself in regards to how much do I know? I should already know some stuff about insurance, and I never took the time to really learn it. And it took a couple months to really get going. But let me tell you, I felt more and more confident as time went on, of course. But I have to admit, it was not what I expected. First of all, insurance is one of those things where you have to learn a lot of laws and rules and regulations and things like that. So they want precise answers. It's not like an essay question. Mm-hmm. I had to learn a lot, and I learned on my feet a lot. And the busy time of the year for the insurance around this area for Florida Blue is October 15th, basically, through December 15th, where that open enrollment is the time where you're doing renewals, you're trying to do business, and I hadn't even been licensed yet. So by the time I got licensed, the beginning of October, the wheels started rolling. So I was very fortunate that I got in at the right time, that was my goal in July when I first started. But I have to tell you again, honestly, by the end of August, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it. But
really? And so what kept you going? Like you said, your family, which I think is huge. That is awesome. And I want to get to know more about your family. But what else kept you going?
My daughters, they're both one. My oldest is in college. My youngest is going to be graduating high school, and their needs in regards to everyday stuff, and very well how, bills and kids and expectations and things like that. I didn't want to let them down, and again, I wasn't um, worried about having to work hard, because I have done that. I built houses. I've learned irrigation. I've learned a lot of different things where it's hands-on, and I felt comfortable doing that. But I didn't want to do that forever. I knew once I started studying, the gentleman who's got me going, Jeff Ferentz, he said, "You can do this." He said, "If I can do this," and he says, "I was never a good student." He had trouble learning, and as a kid, and even in college, he was having troubles. But let me tell you, he was so honest and so helpful to me, and letting me know that you think you may say to me that you're dumb, but you're not dumb. You know exactly what you're doing. You have to feed your kids. You have to pay your car insurance. You have to do all these things. Don't let it slide. Keep going. And I tell you honestly too, I didn't pass the first time I took the state exam. I had to go back again and again. So,
and you never stopped.
He was always the first person I called, and again, didn't have to do it that many times. But anyway, it was that call, like, "Hey Jeff, I'm sorry I didn't pass," and he goes, "Dude, that's okay. You can do it again." And he just kept encouraging me, and my family, of course, my kids. They had never seen me having to sit at the dinner table after dinner and go over stuff, flashcards, stuff like that. Where they would look back at me and go, "Wow, this guy is really studying."
It's a different life, but I just want to, I commend you. First of all, it's not easy, right? Especially as guys, we get set in our ways, and then to be 54 and to say almost, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, correct me if I'm wrong, almost kind of start off from scratch again.
Yes.
And have to reestablish not only where your career, but also your identity and your self-confidence. Sorry, go ahead.
My confidence took a big shot. Honestly, I have to be honest.
And that is something that a lot of guys face. Majority of us, I would say 99.99%, is because we tie a lot of our identity, our self-worth to what we do, our careers.
Yeah.
So if we're entrepreneurs, we tie it to our business. If we're professionals, we tie it to our jobs or whatever we're working on. And that can be tough when that moment comes that we don't have that anymore. And I felt something very similar to it in terms of not feeling like I had lost my self-confidence when I left the corporate world. And I left by choice. I literally walked in and I quit, and I said, I'm going to do something else, because I wanted to go down a different path, create a new chapter in my life. And I remember a few weeks after when I did that, I was sitting there thinking to myself, did I just throw my entire life away? Because I was an executive at that time. And it was really interesting for me, because this is a work that I do, is I work with coaching men specifically. And I was in this situation. I was feeling this way. And I looked back and I said, Purdeep, okay, about a month ago, I was feeling like I was on top of the world. I was rocking it as an executive. Now I'm here starting my own consulting and coaching firm, but I'm the exact same guy. I'm the exact same person with the exact same skills. Why am I feeling less of a man right now? Why am I feeling less self-confidence? And I had to reestablish and say, you know what? I need to redevelop myself and tie my self-confidence, not to my business, but to who I am as a man. And that's really where the concept of the complete man came from. And Tuti, if you're not aware, I wrote a book called The Complete Man. And it's all around this perspective. And we got our backstage guy bringing that up. If you can go to completemanaudio.com and use the promo code limited free to get your free copy right now. I highly encourage you to get this. It's free right now, so you have no excuses. Go out there, download it. if you're out there listening, because it gives you the perspectives of what men go through, the stories that Tuti is talking about, and how to get through these challenges. And Tuti is sharing a lot of the stuff right now is, you just have to bite the bullet. But there's something really important that you said there, Tuti, is the support that you had and the family. Like that, when you were talking about that, I was just getting this feeling inside like, man, that's got to be amazing to have supportive kids, to have supporting siblings, to push you along the way. Because as men, sometimes we think we have to do it alone. I think that's the biggest challenge that we have, is we feel like we have to go down that path by ourselves, but we don't.
My brother was coming over, and he's very cautious as it came to COVID. And every time I saw him, he would have his mask on and all that. And I understood him doing that. But he would come over to my house, which I knew he wasn't feeling comfortable anyway. And he would sit at the table for me with his mask on and ask me questions.
That is so awesome. And so this is a younger brother?
This was my older brother, Mario.
Your older brother. Okay, awesome.
My younger brother, Wiki, also coached me, and he's been a blessing. And of course, my dad and my mom both, they have always been in that, let me go over the flashcards with you, let me do this, let's come over and have dinner. I'd sit outside and they'd ask me questions through the sliding door.
Parents are awesome, aren't they?
Just the last few months, it's been an amazing journey this past year. It's been a trip.
And so how do you feel now? How do you feel now that you've gotten through the exam? You're in the insurance business. What is life like for you now?
It's been an interesting struggle still in regards to how I get paid and how things happen. We had talked a moment before in backstage about the help of family and understanding other businesses that I had never been involved in, which is investments and things like that. And a long time ago, with 401k getting started, I was able to make some very smart investments, and through help with my family, of course, I've been able to live off of that money, which I never thought I would. I didn't think I would have to use it right now. I was hoping to save it for retirement, of course, right? But let me tell you, it was the best money I've spent, because it's allowed my kids to have their iPhones. It's allowed them to drive their vehicles and have car insurance and do all these other things. So I'm blessed in the regard of I didn't know how well the investments were going until I really needed to start using them. And that has been a true blessing for sure.
I think that's super smart. I have to admit, I'm not the best investment guy. I'm more the business guy. My brother is in the investment space. He's a brilliant. He's like a genius when it comes to this stuff, and it's incredible just what you can do with investments. And that's literally, it's really important, because a lot of times we look for our careers to bring in money, we look for our business to bring in money, but it's the money, it's what we do with that money that's more important. Because as you mentioned, as you invest it, it starts to grow, and you want your money to work for you. And a lot of the times that can happen. I'm glad to see that that's actually come full circle for you, and you're able to use that now. Now, your daughters, you said you had two daughters. How old are your daughters?
22 and 18.
22 and 18. Wow. And where, so 18, your daughter's just out of high school?
In her last semester of high school. She'll be graduating in June. We've talked about her staying in Gainesville, going to school, but she has a mind of her own, of course, and she's talked about studying abroad. And I said, well, that sounds very expensive.
So where is abroad?
Well, we've had a really good friend that did what is it called when kids from other countries come to.
Oh, yeah, the exchange program or something?
Program, something like that. We met a girl from Austria. Oh my gosh. And anyway, they had talked about her going there and this and that. But I think Josie, the younger one, she has a brilliant mind, and she does very well in school. She, I think, is just going to kind of take the course of a lot of kids in Gainesville, Santa Fe Community College or Santa Fe College, and then try to transfer to University of Florida. That's hopefully the best case scenario, but there are other scenarios down the road, I'm sure, that she may try to push. And then Jillian, my older daughter, is in college now. She wants to be event planning, that type of career in regards to, she wants to start off assisting people that do that, so she can really learn the ins and outs and how the people that manage that are creating those events and things like that. So she's been exposed to some of that, and University of Central Florida in Orlando is where she goes to school at a very special satellite campus, which is called the Rosen School of Hospitality Management. And Mr. Rosen is an entrepreneur himself, created a huge company in regards to hotels and resorts and things like that. So he's assisted University of Central Florida in creating this off-campus campus, which is right there in the heart of Orlando.
That's awesome. So you have two young, motivated daughters to keep you going. As you mentioned, they're girls can be expensive. My daughter's 5 years old, and she's expensive now. I can't even imagine what you must be going through.
Yes, they sure are. Children are very.
We got Elio's got two himself. We were just joking before we went live. We're like, Tuti was saying, "Are you going to have another one?" And Elio, what was your response?
Oh, production is closed for business.
It's closed for business. Yeah, it's funny. We've been thinking about, so I have two young kids, 7 and 5. We've been thinking about a third, but my wife is super small. She's petite, and she makes big babies. Our last one was close to 10 pounds. And both were C-section. So we're like, it's taking a toll on her body. If it was up to me, I'd be like, okay, let's go for another one. But you gotta respect the things that women go through to have kids. It's not easy. It's just, and even right now, you're talking about two young daughters going through COVID. They're going through this. It's unparalleled time in society, and they want to do this. And where are their heads at in terms of, are you seeing that this has impacted them as a father?
Yes,
do you
ask that? And I had forgotten to really mention that before. These girls, Jillian came home last March for spring break to be home for a week, hang out with her friends. And around that time, things started getting tough. Of course, she never left. She had lived with me before she went to college. She came home for spring break, and she's had to do everything online. And for her, the way her mind works, she's very smart. She does better in regards to the learning aspect online. Josie, on the other hand, wants to be in class. She wants to be able to see the teacher, talk to the teacher, get involved in that regard. Jillian is more just reserved in regards to, she wants to learn. She's loved the experience of school and learning about hospitality. She had a cooking class. She has all these other different types of classes, a wine class that she's learning. But
cool.
Those have been things that she's had to do from home. So it's been interesting. It's been a very interesting situation for them, but they both are doing well and are feeling healthy. They haven't gotten sick, thank God.
I'm happy to hear that, because I think as a father, I've had to change my approach, you can say, in parenting my kids, because the school year the winter break has been extended now. They were supposed to be in school a couple of weeks ago, and now it looks like it's going to be extended even further. So the kids are at home learning, and it's tough for a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old to learn from home. They're going crazy. I'm seeing their behaviors change. And I think as fathers, we need to be aware of this, because not only are we dealing with this, the stuff, our own challenges, because we're not able to be going out there and being a social. Like I don't know. I can't tell you, Tuti, I've just wanted to go, my family's across the country on the West Coast, and just go and visit them more often, but I can't because of everything that's happening. My brother had a newborn in August, and he's the cutest little, I wish I could show you the picture. We'll have to bring it up on the next show, but he is just this little cutest little ball of we call him rolls because he's just a little chunky. But I want to be able to spend that time with him now when he's at this age, but we're just not able to. But on top of that, like I said, it's being there for our children, because sometimes our children don't know how to approach things. So I'm glad to hear that your daughters are actually getting through this a lot better than most kids right now. And there's something else that you pointed out as well, which is important. And I'm seeing this in the business world. So I'm going to talk about it from business, but I'm also going to talk about it from a personal life perspective. And even education, we're seeing a lot of businesses and organizations go online, and a lot of them may actually go online permanently. And there's this huge, you can say, movement where people are talking about, put your business completely online, put your education completely online. But I'm not totally in favor of that, because you pointed out something very specific. One of your daughters thrives in that environment, and the other one thrives in a different environment. And I think we need to be aware of this as business owners, professionals, fathers, whoever, whatever role you play, is that people are different. And if we try to force a lot of people online and continue to do that online, we may actually be holding ourselves back. So speaking of little ones, here's my little one. So just as you see this show right here.
The highlight of the show.
Yes. He's going to ask me a question here. So you're going to say hi to everybody first?
Hi.
Hi.
He doesn't know that he's got an international audience right now. Yes. What would you like? You need to do something for school?
No, I finished all my schoolwork for this morning. I still have some time left. It's half an hour. Can I spend that half an hour watching videos, and then I can spend my other half an hour after?
Sure. There you go. So he's breaking his time up.
That's the negotiator you were telling me about.
Oh, he is a master negotiator. I'm telling you, it is tough as a father sometimes, because I'm like, no, just do this. You can't negotiate. But then there's part of me that's like, that is an amazing skill to have. That's a skill that took me forever to develop. And even now, I'm not the best at it. But he is 10 times better than me at this age. So I'm like, just build on it. But he was just talking about his screen time. And I've had to be very cognizant of that, because a lot of kids are spending a lot of time on their screens. I'm not a big supporter of that. I don't care. You could give me as many facts or figures as you want, or opinions when it comes to internet helps kids and develops skills. It absolutely does to a certain degree, but also takes away from them.
Absolutely. And just the moving around these kids. And it's funny, I've seen other parents trying to do the same in regards to giving them just a certain amount of time on the iPad. The iPad is not, for them, the iPad hasn't become the learning thing. It's become the playing thing, how they play. But if you don't entertain them, or you don't do something with them, they'd rather sit on that thing all day.
Yes, exactly. And so one of the things that happened when I first found out that we were going to have my son here,
right?
The first thing that came to my mind was insurance, because I had a small life insurance policy before, but I said, okay, now that I have this young one, I'm going to amp it up. And so can you talk about right now, tell me do you have any tips or anything that you're seeing right now? Because people are challenged. COVID is happening. The insurance industry, what's happening in there? What do you recommend to the average person or gentleman like myself?
Okay. To give you an idea of the insurance that I've been able to study for and get the license for is a health insurance. I could get into the annuities and life insurance as well, but the particular license that I have is right now only kind of holds me to health insurance. But I am going to, I think in the future, dabble in that, because there are a lot of ways for me to create more savings, create more, not wealth for myself, but in regards to keeping the money coming in as I get closer to retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Just ways of making that happen. And in the insurance business that I am in, I can help people with the like the regular health insurance for an individual, let's say under 65 years old, him and his family, somebody like you, in regards to having coverage for you and your wife and your kids. Because if you don't have a company that you're working for that's going to help you pay for your health insurance, you're going to have to do it yourself. Another product or another thing that I do in regards to insurance and health insurance is Medicare. When you are going to turn 65 in the US, you are allowed to have a subsidy taken care in regards to Medicare A and B. But in regards to that, and the other type of insurance is group policies for small businesses. And that is one of the things I will also be doing to help create more revenue in regards to money coming in.
Oh, that's great. I think health insurance is important. I think we in Canada take that for granted because it's provided by the government. We pay obviously a small amount as citizens here. And it's super important. And I don't think a lot of us Canadians realize the impact that it has. We have people complaining about how it sucks or it takes too long, whatever it is. But in a lot of respect, it's free here.
Yeah.
And I know in States in some places where it costs money to even. Here's the funny thing: when I heard that people have to pay to have kids in the U.S., that actually costs money, I was just like, "What? Are you serious?" We just, we take our, wives to the hospital here, and we get the small bill if you want a private room or whatever that looks like. But on top of that, we don't pay anything. So health insurance is so critical.
Yes, there's a lot to be said for trying to create a system here to cover everyone, and there not be so much regulation just to get insurance, just to have it. A lot of that's already been done, but in regards to selling plans, Florida Blue offers different types of plans for different incomes. It's all based on your household income, and if you don't make a whole lot of money, the government has what they call the marketplace, and the marketplace allows you to get help from the government to be able to pay and afford your health insurance. Those are some of I think, in regards to insurance, I didn't think I'd ever be in this business, but I'm learning, honestly, the way they help me. I'm trying to figure out how to help people that don't have a whole lot of money, that are asking questions. What's my next step? How do I even get insurance for my kid? If you don't make any money, if you don't have any money, there's also a system here, a program that's Medicaid, and it is for people that can't afford it. So with the way the system is here and capitalism, people need to make money, and insurance companies definitely need to make money. But it's expensive. So the more you make, the more you're basically going to pay.
Interesting.
To get coverage for your family.
And how are you finding the industry now? Like with COVID, I'm assuming there's got to be a lot of people out there worrying about their health insurance and stuff like that. And I know in the health insurance that you might only be able to speak about certain things, but are you finding that people are more? Is the conversation about health insurance becoming greater and greater now?
I believe it is. Yes. I think there are a lot of people worried now that we have a new administration. What's the expectation going to be? Because the Obama plan, when they first started that, trying to have a more controlled subsidy to help people, they wanted everybody to sign up. And not that that was good or bad, is that they were going to penalize people that were not going to sign up. People that had the money were going to say, well, I'm just going to go get my own insurance, or I don't need insurance. But then Trump came in, took that penalty away. So people started getting better health care, not because of him, but I'm saying they started getting better health care in regards to getting the subsidy to help them afford it. With the new administration, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I would like to see more like what you have in regards to how can the U.S. afford to pay for everybody's insurance. It's going to be an interesting moving forward. But I'm interested to see kind of how that's going to work out because, like I said, if you can't afford it, we're going to be able to help you find the right plan. My job is to help people pick a plan. I'm not going to pick it for them. I'm going to give them options, A, B, and C, depending on what they qualify for. But I'll give them options so I can help them choose what they're going to what kind of insurance they need for them and their family. There's so many questions in regards to co-pays, whether or not you should be in an HMO or a PPO. HMOs are group policies where you can actually work with other people, other individuals in getting this coverage from a group of doctors. PPOs is if you have a specific doctor that you want and you don't want to lose that doctor, then the PPO plan is going to be right for you because you don't have to worry about getting a referral or anything like that. Some of those plans have little things in there that will make it where you have to pay out of pocket to actually go to the thing. So I know it may seem a little strange in having a baby and not strange for me to go to the hospital and not have to pay anything. Even though you have insurance in this country, you're still going to have to pay some money out before the insurance kicks in.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Prepared for that. You almost have to have a safety net in regards to savings and, there's a monthly premium. So you're paying every month, whether you use it or not.
Yeah. And I have a strong opinion about that. And I'm very opinionated, and some people don't like it, but that's too bad. I get to say it. But coming from a country that has universal health care, I can tell you it's completely different perspective because I don't have to worry about my family getting sick not being taken care of. I don't have to worry about my mother, if she came across an illness because it's paid for. I don't have to worry about my neighbors. And when you don't have to have that worry, it's a lot easier to sleep at night. It's a lot easier to know. And we also have healthier communities from that standpoint because people are taken care of. And we have healthier communities, you have healthier economics. So from a capitalistic perspective, it makes total sense to have everybody within your own country to be able to afford healthcare. It just makes economic sense. And one other thing is, I see that so much money is being spent. You're talking big bucks being spent. Look what just happened over the last few days. How many, you can say tens and probably even hundreds of millions of dollars was spent on security alone when it comes to the National Guard and everything that they had to do. Imagine what that could have done in terms of feeding the poor or for the healthcare system. I think just that reallocation, and I call it mindfulness. As leaders, we need to be mindful of what we're doing. But the industry that you're in right now is so, if I was to sum it up, like my wife works in the oncology ward, so she sees a lot of people with cancer. And it goes back to that old saying, what people talk about, and it's why what you do is so important. Health insurance, healthcare is so important for families, man, because if you don't have that health, what do you have? That old saying that says, you know what, the normal or average day man has 1,000 wishes, but the man who is sick or unhealthy has but one, right?
Right.
And that's to be healthy.
Yeah.
And so health insurance is so important. So I want to thank you for the work that you do, because I think you helping families helps everybody as a whole.
Well, I appreciate that. Like I said, I'm just getting started, and it's been interesting learning more and more about this business. Maybe one day, maybe even with this administration, there'll be a meeting of the minds to try to create something better for the Americans. Something that's going to be easier. There's so much red tape and regulation as it comes to this industry and how the government regulates it, which I believe it has to be done. But together, there should be a way. There should be learning from other countries, being open to different ideas, but make it cheaper, make it affordable. Make it, if it could be made free, that would be amazing. but then I'd be out of a job. So
Yeah. So you want, yeah. So let's at least affordable is what you're saying, right? At least common
Affordable.
sense. So the person that's struggling to feed their families doesn't have to worry about, if my kid gets sick, am I going to be able to afford the bills? That's what we're talking about here.
even people getting into retirement, or let's say you've made money your whole life and you have money that you're going to retire with. Why should the people that make a lot of money also, it's almost like they're being persecuted, and because they have so much money, or because they have plenty of money, they're charged triple, whatever it is. I don't understand that part of it. It should be affordable, and it shouldn't cost the rich more to have insurance than it would be somebody who's middle class. They have to find some sort of even keel there. I don't get it. I don't really understand it, but that's how insurance companies, I guess, make money.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because if you don't understand it, then most people in the country don't understand it. And I think that's why there's so much controversy over healthcare.
Yeah.
I think there's just a misunderstanding as a whole. And I think what you said is important. Hopefully with this new administration coming in, there's a meeting of the minds, and people can come to a resolution to say that healthy citizens lead to a healthy country.
Well, you're absolutely right. But in this country, the way, and again, I'm proud of this country. Capitalism has built us to where we are. But healthcare, when you start talking United or anything like that, a lot of people in this country feel like, well, that's more socialism. That's a socialist program. And from what my experience in socialism and my parents and Cuba, I don't want to go down that path. But I'll tell you honestly, something that I learned while I was studying, the HMO, the group policy that I was kind of telling you about, when doctors get together with insurance companies and they come up with a price of what things are going to cost, and kind of let everybody in that group have a certain amount they're going to pay, that actually started in Cuba. That was one of the things, how they kind of started their thing. Castro, I think, wanted to take credit for creating that, but he didn't create that. He took advantage of it and let it go. But you know what? He kept taking money from the system, and then it all fell apart.
Interesting.
Here, if we can create a certain thing like that, maybe it would be a little bit easier for, like I said, people to be able to afford it. People that, and the HMO, one of the things I meant to say was, they want to do preventative health care. They want you to come in 3 times a year. If you're a healthy person, they just want to, and it may not even cost you anything, but the preventative thing of coming to see your doctor on a regular basis, that was created to keep people healthy. Not just say, oh, come in when your tooth hurts. Come in all the time so we can see what's up, and you can do your physical and, check your blood and do all that kind of thing. People that are healthy sometimes will not pay the money to get insurance because they'll think nothing's going to happen to me. I'll be okay.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
You end up in the emergency room. Around here, ambulance ride costs $500, if not more. And the emergency room could cost you another $1,500 or more, depending on what happened to you.
Yeah, that's incredible. So Tuti, I want to thank you for joining us on this show. You've actually opened my eyes up to a number of things, especially in the insurance world. So thank you very much for taking the time, sharing your story. And I know there's listeners out there that are going to take that and actually say, you know what, I can do this too. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate that.
My pleasure. So there you go. We had Tuti on as a guest, just an absolutely amazing and genuine person. I think the big thing that we can get from that is it doesn't matter how old you are, what stage you're at, you can do it. Look what he went through. And he was a gentleman that was a professional, had a career, all these things happened. And all of a sudden he had to reinvent himself. And it was like starting from scratch. Look at him now. He's able to get through it. He's got a different journey for his life, and I have to commend him for that. Absolutely. So as a guy out there, if you're feeling that way, don't hold yourself down. You can absolutely do it. Again, if you haven't gotten a copy of the Complete Man book, I'm just going to throw it up here. go to CompleteManAudio.com, use the promo code LimitedFree, get your absolutely free copy right now. And I just want to bring on our backstage guy. Where's Elio? He's going to close it out with a quick beat here. We got to leave you with on a high note.
Let me tell you something, guys. Yeah, I have my maracas because you know some ladies out there, they were like, Elio, why you don't play? Do you have maracas? I was like, I have it all. I have it all. I do it all. I play it all for you. We're gonna bring that energy level all the way to the top. So you know, yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, what do you got for us today, Elio?
Well, actually, since all of this been happening with, you know, the politics and this and that, I have like a Beatles song in Latin beat. How about that, Purdeep? It is Let It Be, Let It Be, Let It Be, Let It Be, You know that song, right? So
yeah, I do.
So we got it all let it be and move on and move forward with 2021 and just keep seeking that complete man, complete human being within yourself.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Thanks, Elio. If you don't know Elio, he's got the Fiesta Media Group, awesome production, just an all-around great guy, and an entertainer, as you can see. So I want to thank you for joining me over this past hour. Hopefully you got value from it. Please, again, if you can like and share, that would be absolutely amazing. I hope that you have an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you next week, Thursday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Take care.